My name is Sarah Littlebrook. My happiness is getting married and having children. I've always loved kids, so I wanted children for sure once I got married. Of course, children are a gift from heaven, and not something you can have just by wanting them. I had trouble getting pregnant, going to the hospital, and trying various treatments. It was hard, but I desperately wanted a child. Before marrying my husband, I told him about this, and he wholeheartedly wanted children too. He was very kind-hearted and loved animals and kids.
Look over there. That man is walking with a dog. Isn't it cute?
He said to me. Indeed. Look, over there, a dad is playing with his child on the swing.
Hey, don't push it too hard. I mean, I want kids too, but it's not everything. If we can't have kids, let's get a dog or a cat.
Yo, that sounds good. Which would you prefer, dogs or cats? I think I like dogs.
That's a tough one. I like both, but considering the hassle of walks, maybe cats are better.
If we had a dog, taking it for walks could be good for dieting or health.
Haha, that's true. He laughed back, and as we chatted like that, we enjoyed a warm spring afternoon.
I married my husband, Tyler, less than a year after we started dating. We decided to get married quickly because we felt right for each other, and I was 29 years old. Since we both wanted children, we decided to get married and start living together sooner rather than later. At that time, I was ecstatic, feeling on top of the world. I'm an only child, without any sisters or brothers. So, I was always envious of friends who had them. Thus, when I married Tyler and thought we might eventually have a family, I was thrilled at the possibility. Before I knew it, I had earned a child care certification and was working in a daycare. I received many smiles from the kids every day. So, after continuing fertility treatments for a year and a half, honestly, my husband and I were about to give up on having children. It seemed inevitable, but deep down, I couldn't let go of hope. It was my Mill who gave me words of encouragement.
It's okay. You two will have children someday.
I know it, she said to us. I sincerely thanked her, saying, "Thank you, Jessica."
Mom, I understand your feelings, but please don't say things so lightly. Of course, we'd be happy to have kids, but to say something without basis like that.
My Mill calmly reassured my husband, saying,
You might say it has no basis, but I truly know it. You two will have children.
It might be hard to believe, but my husband's mom had a sixth sense. So, for some reason, she always told me something that sounded like a strong conviction when she saw me. Even if it was just for comfort, I was happy about it. But she had dementia. It gradually worsened, and she started to forget about us. Then, on a hot summer day, my Phil passed away. After that, her dementia progressed even more, to the point where she couldn't remember us when we visited. Yet, even then, she occasionally remembered and never failed to talk about children, saying,
Oh, you're my son's wife. I'm not sure. Are you really my son's wife? Wait, do I even have a son? Oh, I remember now. Yes, Sarah, right? Don't worry. You will have children.
Just hearing that gave me strength and nearly brought me to tears. And then, after continuing fertility treatments for 2 years, my husband and I were finally blessed with a child. I was so happy, so ecstatic, I couldn't wait to tell my husband when he got home from work. "Welcome home, dear. I have some important news."
Important news? What's with that look? Is it something happy?
"Let's sit down and talk over dinner. It's that important of a conversation."
Now you've got me worried. It's not like I've done something wrong, is it?
"Of course not." Seeing my cheerful demeanor, my husband quizzically tilted his head. I guess it was natural, considering he didn't know what I was about to share. While having dinner with my husband, I found myself unable to bring up the topic. I worried about how he might react. What if he wasn't as thrilled as I was? Such thoughts crossed my mind. Yet, my husband waited quietly, obviously eager for me to begin. After finishing dinner, I approached him with a cake and a photo in hand.
A cake? That's unusual. Don't hold out on me, tell me. Honestly, I've been so anxious. I couldn't even taste dinner.
Sorry for the suspense. Look at this photo, I said, showing him the ultrasound image. Turning the photo over, his expression shifted to one of astonishment.
Could it be? Are we having a baby? Are you pregnant?
He asked, eyes gleaming. Yes, we don't know the gender yet, but it looks like there's a baby on the way. 2 years of effort have paid off. I was so happy that I couldn't put it into words.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
My husband hugged me tightly. I was so happy that I burst into tears in his chest. He gently stroked my back over and over, quietly waiting for me to stop crying. The past 2 years had been really tough. Fertility treatments were expensive, and there were painful and unpleasant moments. But thinking that we finally were able to have a child made those 2 years feel like a proud journey. I was truly overjoyed at that moment. I had been the one pushing for fertility treatments. I wanted my husband to be more involved, but he was paying for the treatments, and while I worked part-time, he had a full-time job. It was hard to ask him to take days off to go to the clinic with me. Plus, talking about these things can make anyone feel down, right? I had brought it up with my husband a few times. I wanted him to go to the clinic for more thorough tests. He never got angry, but the mood would always turn sour when I brought it up.
I get that you're doing your best, Sarah, but I'm tired from work too. And all those tests, they require a lot, don't they? I can't say I'm too keen on it.
I understand how you feel, and I get what you're saying. But it's for a child. Please. I've gone through every test imaginable.
People say a child is a gift from heaven, right? Sometimes it's possible, and sometimes it's not. I'll consider going to the hospital, so can we stop talking about it today? Work's been hectic lately, and I just don't want to think about all that. I'm not blaming you, Sarah, but please, consider my feelings too.
Hearing that, all I could do was apologize. You're right, I'm sorry. Afterwards, my husband would always hug me with a look of apology. Then, patting my head, he'd say,
I know how hard you're working, Sarah. I really do want a child too, but just give me some time to focus on work right now. Sorry for being such a selfish husband.
It's not like that at all. You're always working so hard, and I appreciate it. When we talked about treatments, there was usually a set flow. I'd ask. He'd get a bit upset. Then he'd comfort me when I felt down. It wouldn't be true to say I had no complaints, but I never resented him. After all, he was doing so much for me. Not just the cost of fertility treatments, but also helping around the house and taking me out on his days off. I never fell out of love with him, but after we were able to have a child, his attitude changed dramatically. He's still kind, but he's been coming home late every day. I thought maybe he was just excited about having a baby, but even if that were the case, he's been going out drinking every day and coming home drunk. Even I couldn't stand it anymore. Hey, do you realize we're about to have a baby? What are you doing out drinking every night? You're not cheating, are you? One day, I confronted my husband.
No way, I'd never cheat. I'm just happy about the baby coming, and I've been telling my coworkers and seniors.
But it seems like you're out drinking every day. If you keep this up, we're going to run out of money, and we'll need it when the baby comes. You know that, right?
I guess I got a bit too carried away. To be honest, once the baby's here, I won't be able to go out drinking at night, right? There'll be nighttime crying and taking care of the baby. So I thought I'd drink a lot with my friends while I still can. But it's just for now. Once the baby's here, I can't just go out drinking anymore. So I thought just for now.
Duh, I understand your point. But have you ever thought about how lonely I feel on nights you don't come home? Especially when I'm feeling sick from the pregnancy? I'm always waiting for you to come back. I'm not saying you can't go out to drink, but I wish you'd consider me a little.
I'm sorry. I'll think more about how often I go to these drinking parties. I wasn't considering you at all. I'm really sorry.
Like when I announced a pregnancy, he held me gently and stroked my back for a long time. After that, he reduced the frequency of his drinking outings, But it was still more than before we found out I was pregnant. But for the sake of her child, and to help me after the birth, I convinced myself it was okay for him to go out now and didn't say anything to him. I even suspected he might be cheating and checked his bag and suits, but I found no evidence of it. When I was feeling upset about all this, my husband mentioned his mother wanted to see me. So I thought meeting my mill might be a nice change of pace. And then we went to see my mill. My belly was already showing, and I was about 2 months away from giving birth.
I'm so glad you came, Sarah. I've wanted to see you,
said my mill. Jessica, I wanted to see you too. Have you been well since we last met?
Since we last met, we haven't seen each other recently, have we?
No, right. My apologies for it being so long. Because of her dementia, it's unclear how much she remembers, and sometimes our conversations don't align.
Mom, it's been a while. We were thinking maybe living together could be an option. What do you think?
No, I wouldn't want to bother you, and it would be trouble for Sarah too. That's not true.
It's all right, Sarah. I have 4 kids, so someone will take me in eventually. Especially the youngest, who said he wants to live with me and has always been adamant about staying single. Living with him might be a good option.
Since my husband was the eldest of 4 siblings, I thought perhaps one day we'd live with his mother. However, it seemed she didn't share that thought. While I was pondering this, my mill stopped and stared at me. Is something wrong? Are you feeling ill? I asked.
Sarah, you're pregnant, aren't you?
No, yes. It was obvious I was pregnant, but my mill looked at me with such surprise. I figured she must have forgotten I told her about the pregnancy.
So it's true, you're finally pregnant. Congratulations. I've been looking forward to this.
I thanked her, saying thank you, Jessica. Then, astonishingly, she added,
Oh, and it's twins, isn't it?
I was shocked by her words. Indeed, I was carrying twins. But there was no way she could tell just by looking. Yet, she easily guessed it.
See, I've always said she has a strong inspiration. Sometimes she just knows things, like some kind of mysterious power.
That's truly amazing. I was genuinely astounded that she guessed correctly. I had never doubted her, but experiencing it firsthand was surreal. But what surprised me the most was what she said next.
Welcome back, Emily and Logan. I've always wanted to meet you two. I've only met you in my dreams, but now I can finally meet you for real. Make sure you will be born this time.
I blinked in confusion, not understanding what she meant. But I noticed my husband swallow hard next to me. Glancing at him, I saw he had gone pale, trembling and sweating as if in shock. It wasn't just an ordinary moment. I was worried about my husband, but even more so about what my mill had just said. Jessica, what do you mean? How do you know their names? We haven't decided on names for the twins yet. And what did you mean by make sure you will be born this time? My mill seemed not to hear my words, squinting her eyes and smiling happily as she looked at my belly.
I've wanted to meet you so much, truly. You've done nothing wrong, yet here you are, visiting me again. Such kind children you are. With Sarah as your mother, you'll be just fine. But the problem is that,
just as my mill was about to continue speaking, my husband interrupted her loudly.
Mom, you seem unwell, so we're going to head back now. But I haven't yet spoken to Emily and Logan.
My mill tried to continue. At that moment, my husband said,
You really do seem unwell, not making any sense. Let's go, Sarah.
And pulled me by the hand, leading me quickly to the car. He started driving without looking back once. I was completely confused, but my husband beside me seemed a mix of hurried and angry, his expression complex. Seeing his face made me afraid, and I couldn't ask him any more forcefully. When we got home and my husband had calmed down, I asked him about what his mother had said. What was that all about with your mom earlier? Do you have any idea what she meant? He coldly dismissed it.
I have no idea. Mom has dementia, so of course she'll say things that don't make sense. It's just your usual nonsense.
Then he started helping around the house as if to distract from the topic. My husband, who hadn't done any housework since we learned of my pregnancy, suddenly took the initiative. It was undeniably strange.
If you're not feeling well, it's better to take a rest. I can take care of things like cleaning up and washing dishes. And hey, once it's over, how about watching a movie together?
No. I think I'd rather go to bed early tonight.
Ha ha ha, right. You must be tired from going out. Take a good rest. I'll take care of things here, so go head to the bedroom and get some sleep first.
Even as I thanked him, his odd behavior left me feeling uneasy. It was possible that Mimo, given her dementia, was just rambling, but I couldn't shake the feeling that wasn't all there was to it. Her gentle gaze, and my husband's sudden panic. I wanted to know the truth. When my husband was at work, I contacted Mimo, and I decided to visit her home by myself. Fortunately, my in-laws' home wasn't too far, so even pregnant, I managed to make the trip alone. I'm sorry for the sudden visit.
No need to apologize. I've been waiting for you, Sarah.
Mimo greeted me with a dignity I'd never seen before. She looked at me with strong eyes and smiled, reaching out her hand.
Come inside quickly. It would be terrible if you fell ill.
Yes. This time, her voice was clear and strong, very different from before. From her demeanor, it felt like she wasn't just spouting nonsense but trying to convey something important. I followed Mimo into the house, holding her hand. Then, we sat facing each other while sipping on the tea she offered. She began to speak quietly, looking me in the eyes.
I knew you would come today. You want to know the truth. I wanted to tell you sooner. Had I done so, you might have never married Tyler.
Excuse me. What do you mean?
Today, I'm feeling very clear-headed and in a good mood. Will you listen to my story?
Yes.
The story I'm about to tell you didn't come from my son's mouth. So, it's up to you to believe it or not. But I'm not lying. Just remember that. It all started 5 years before you and Tyler got married. Tyler had a girlfriend. No, he had several girlfriends. He wasn't sincere in his relationships. I didn't know any of this at that time, and I found out about it all later. Tyler was involved with multiple women. Not satisfied with just one, he had friends with whom he just had physical relationships. Eventually, he got one of the women pregnant.
Pregnant? I've never heard anything like that.
Tyler probably wouldn't tell you. What do you think he did after learning about the pregnancy? Instead of taking responsibility, he abandoned the woman. She ended up not having the child, giving up on it.
How do you know about that? It's not like she heard it from Tyler, right?
I had a dream at that time. It was about a little baby crying and drifting away from me. Tyler was ignoring the cries, walking ahead confidently, pulling me along. And the baby just kept getting farther away. Of course, it was just a dream. But later, a woman who had been dating Tyler came to my house, and she asked me for money.
Is she asking for money for giving up the child?
Yes, she was crying, saying she loved Tyler. Apparently, when he was dating her, he had even decided on a name for the child they might have.
Her? Could it be Emily or Logan?
She talked about naming the child Emily. Since the baby in my dream was a girl, I felt like that child might have been Emily. I told Tyler about it, but he refused to acknowledge it, saying she's lying. Just believe in your son, me. I chose to believe Tyler, of course. It seemed only natural to believe in my son rather than a woman I just met, even if she was crying. But I couldn't forget the voice of that crying woman and the baby I saw in my dream.
Emily might have been the child that was supposed to be born. I understood that much.
Tyler didn't just get one woman pregnant. A year after breaking up with that woman, he got another woman pregnant. I hadn't met this woman in person, but I had another dream. I saw a woman stroking her belly happily, saying, "Logan, I love you, my beloved child." But Tyler must have run away again. Like in that dream, Tyler grabbed my hand firmly and pulled in the opposite direction of the baby. The baby named Logan cried and drifted away from me. After that, I stopped having dreams about children. So, this is all just my imagination. I believe the first woman about Emily because she came to my house. But I don't even know Logan's mother, let alone talk to her. It's just what I thought from my dream. But I believe what I've told you is true.
That's how it was, huh? Thank you for sharing. So, are those kids inside me?
Maybe it's like the scent and color of souls. They felt very similar to me. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. But those kids, they're undoubtedly your children, who chose to come into your belly. I wanted to tell you sooner, but it's just a story that doesn't go beyond my imagination.
No. Thank you for telling me. Meeting these kids, I don't think marrying was a mistake, but I don't think I can continue this marriage. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My Mill smiled, but the strength in her eyes from earlier had disappeared.
No, who are you? Are you my friend, perhaps? Would you like some tea?
No. I'll head home now, taken aback by the sudden change. I answered so and went home. Once home, I thoroughly investigated my husband's past using his social circle and social media, and I found out that everything my Mill said was true, and I found out he's still cheating. While he was trying to comfort me and hold me, I couldn't see my husband's face, but I wondered what face Tyler was making, and the thought made my hands tremble with anger. But thinking about the children in my belly, I somehow calmed myself down. I know everything you've done. I laid out the evidence of my investigation on the table and confronted my husband.
This is,
No need for excuses. So please, divorce me.
Wait, it's just a youthful mistake. It's different now.
My husband desperately apologized to me, but I also laid out evidence of his current affair on the table. Unable to say anything more, my husband collapsed to his knees, and we ended up divorcing. The scariest part was realizing that my husband, who seemed so kind, had done such things in the past, and he had hidden it from me, continuing our married life as if nothing had happened. More than the fact that he was cheating on me, the weight of the fact that he had been hiding it from me burdened me heavily. I decided to divorce him, receive alimony and child support, and just forget everything, pretending it never happened. I returned to my parents' house and gave birth to twins. Even after giving birth, I continued to live at my parents' house. I received child support from my husband, and I also received compensation from his mistress. I heard later that my husband had also been involved with a married woman, which had come to light to her husband, and now he's in the midst of a lawsuit. Surely, my husband will continue to live the same kind of life in the future, and that man will never be happy. I don't know why, but that's what I think. I occasionally visit my Mill, who said,
I've cut ties with my son. That boy is bound to fall into hell, even while he's alive. I know it.
Seeing my Mill speak so confidently, I also somehow felt convinced that he's destined for hell.